But let's get into this very critical report.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are forces working to take total control over every resource on the planet. Not just food. They want perfect information awareness of every drop of oil pulled out of the ground, every fish pulled out of the sea, every single coffee bean harvested.
Yes.
That sounds ludicrous, I know. These are extraordinary claims, and they will require compelling evidence.
He's got it.
Unfortunately, there is a preponderance of that. And so we'll take a look today. I'd like to take a deep dive into this system that they are building to acquire and manage that perfect information awareness of everything. It's a system I'm calling the Beast system. And it comprises several notable pieces of technology, among them the blockchain, artificial intelligence, and 5G to tie it all together.
There you go.
I'm Christian, and this is the IceAgefarmer channel. And today I want to take a deep dive into the way that they are architecting this beast system.
It's very creepy.
Before I do, I just want to take a quick little preview here so that you know up front, I'm not at all exaggerating when I say that every single piece of a fish, each part of this fish, needs to be tracked. And every single coffee bean picked will be given its own ID. This is from Forbes. So I'm not going to go any deeper into this now. I just wanted to make sure it's clear. We're talking about a reality, and they're building that reality right now.
That is correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, over the past few months of this pandemic, there has been a narrative that's been played out in front of us. And at first glance, it seems like there is an attack going on our food system, and then there are forces at work trying to defend against that attack. For example, setting aside briefly everything about the virus, everything about the faulty tests, everything about the response, just put aside everything except look with me at the way that this narrative is played out. First, we heard that there were infections at the meat plants, and so they were shutting down production of meat. In response, the Trump administration drafted Executive Order 13917 and invoked the Defense Production Act, which allows the federal government to take total control over the production, transportation, and distribution of any resource they deem essential for the national defense.
Under Trump.
Then we started to hear noises about how there were infections on farms, and so we need to impose social distancing on our harvest workers and within all of the farm labor, which is really devastating, especially to small farm operations. It's unthinkable, actually. And again, in response, the USDA and the FDA drafted a memorandum of understanding which merged their oversight. So not just the meat anymore, but now all agriculture, all crop production, suddenly all of this is covered by the newly expanded scope of the freshly invoked Defense Production Act. In other words, yes, the federal government just took total control over all food production and over all food transportation and distribution. This has happened now. This is on the books, and it's being used actively, and I'll come back to that.
And that must be the report.
Then we saw, because
must be the report of the other guy who said they just made it illegal for us to grow our own food. Of course we're not going to obey. I'm not going to obey, but you're going to have weather warfare, and I don't know, maybe the goon squads will come and arrest you for growing your own food. We must resist that. We're going to have to get back to the Garden of Eden. Okay, here we go. Let's continue.
Companies themselves were forced to stay open. And then we saw it became an AstroTurf campaign, a fake grassroots campaign about workers' rights. So we saw United Farm Workers and the media companies conspiring to tell farm workers that it was way too unsafe for them to go to work anymore. They started suing the states, and even some governors like Jay Inslee rolled over and said, yeah, these guys are right. It's way too dangerous for us to go harvest our apples this year. We're just going to let them rot. And we also saw sites like workingattyson.com appear overnight, sponsored by the big media companies and by the labor unions. And they make the case that it's way too dangerous for you to go to work at Tyson right now.
Fake phone
And as a
false.
direct result of this campaign and all this fear,
Yep.
the meat companies are reporting that only 50% of their workers are even showing up to work right now. So they're shut down even though the DPA was invoked and they were supposed to stay open. The attack on our food system is real. It's a real attack.
Yes.
But again, seemingly in response, the U.S. Department of Defense rolled out publicly their Project Salus, an artificial intelligence system that, in their words, would be helpful. It will help to detect problem areas in the supply chain where there might be shortages or new COVID-19 hotspots. They have a million reasons that it's very helpful for public safety that they're bringing in this new AI system, and they're feeding every grocery retail transaction into it.
Everything you
In
buy.
fact, later in the press release about Project Salus, it was revealed that this was, yes, part of their command and control massive AI weapons system, because food is absolutely being plugged into their military controls.
There you go. And do you see now where the cashless, where you cannot buy and use the cash? So then when you use a charge card or a check or online, whatever you're doing, if your system is online with cryptocurrency or your online banking, they know every piece of food that you bought. And it's going into a military place, okay, a military list. And then, well, if they don't like you, that food just might disappear. You never know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to make the case that this isn't a natural problem reaction chain of events here. In fact, this is one integrated column, one agenda being executed without material opposition, unfortunately. As they are shutting down the food production, they are also taking total control over it at the same time. There's no one actually trying to maintain our food sovereignty here.
No.
And so over the course of these last few months, not only has our food production been shut down substantially, but the federal government has literally taken total control over that supply chain.
Under Trump.
Now I want to look briefly at a different supply chain. It seems completely orthogonal to my conversation today, but in fact, it's informative. And that's the defense supply chain. Because over the course of the last few months, during the pandemic, there's been another narrative that's been pushed out to the mockingbird media, and that is about the fact that our military depends on a tremendous network of suppliers and a supply chain all to themselves, and that was affected by COVID-19. And oh boy, what are we going to do about that? So here, starting back in March, what happens when COVID-19 infiltrates the defense supply chain? What are we going to do? In April, that continued as the economy started to feel the effects. The Pentagon's...
Okay, can you not see where COVID operation, this freaking virus, is the gift that keeps giving? It is bringing in the AI system. It's everything I said. Open your eyes to those who cannot see. Trump isn't here to save you. That's victimhood.
Supply chain is now facing an economy under siege. What are we going to do about that? You can already see there's a problem being posited here, so that it needs a reaction. How is the Pentagon protecting defense supply chains from COVID-19?
Oh, the COVID.
Well, we start to see indications that they're looking at blockchain technology.
There you
And
go.
the DoD, as I said, this narrative is continuing. The DoD must brace for long-term supply chain problems. There's going to be big holes. The U.S. needs to rethink its overseas supply chain, because flashing back, this is not news. No surprise here, U.S. defense supply chain is heavily reliant on China and other rivals, according to a 2018 report. Just like
Okay, not to interrupt too much, but remember, they're all in on it. China's in cahoots with the U.S., the RU country, the IS country. They're all in on it. They're corporations. We are
depended on China for our pharmaceutical ingredients, and now we have Zoloft shortages and antibiotic shortages. It's just staggering the position this country was put in.
Pre-planned.
So, facing these challenges to the supply chain, and in the course of this pandemic crisis, now the U.S., May 20th, 2020, U.S. military is falling behind China and Russia in our blockchain arms race.
Well,
we can't have a blockchain gap, Mr. President. And so, how does the military responding to these problems that they're putting out there? Well, we see it. The Navy is raising the anchor on blockchain. The Army is hosting symposiums in 2019 on blockchain technology.
Pre-planned,
And just
everything.
this month, the U.S. Air Force has commissioned, for the price of $1.5 million, a blockchain-based supply chain network. By SymbaChain, a blockchain as a service company with deep ties to the DoD. Yeah, you don't say.
Yeah.
Now they're being given $1.5 million to develop a blockchain for supply chain logistics for the U.S. Air Force. We might be able to anticipate and identify areas in the supply chain that could one day break down. You see, this is the response to that problem that they were just telling us that we have. Well,
reaction.
We depend on things that might be shutting down because of the virus.
All right, you see the gift that keeps giving. Problem, reaction, solution. COVID operation to bring in the AI. I'm going to keep saying it till you get it. Okay, I know you guys are smart, but the world wants to panic. And in that fear and panic, they're going to get the damn system. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say.
Because it's China. So we'll use blockchain and AI. Yeah, these things from China, they might be transistors or microprocessors. We want to be able to trace where every screw and every microprocessor in our planes came from, so that if we ever have any problem, we can trace it back to every component. We can find wherever else they go, every other plane, we can take it out of service. You can see the case they're making for this.
Fake, phony, and false.
But he said also that they carry out their supply chains in ways that civilians, quote, don't even take into consideration. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is just not true anymore. Because everything I've just told you about the defense supply chain is rolling out also for the civilian supply chain. That's not a surprise, right? That's why Project Salus, into which they're feeding our grocery transactions, is actually a part of their AI weapons system.
It knows everything
because they want total information awareness. Let's look now at the civilian supply chain. And this is the Forbes article that I tipped at the hat at the outset. How the Internet of Things, AI, and the blockchain can transform our supply chain in 3 simple steps. Quote, the most significant transformation opportunity in managing supply chains will be the ability to know the past, present, and future of every asset across the entire supply chain. Perfect information awareness. To do that, we need 3 core things. This is the architecture of the beast system, ladies and gentlemen. We need 1. Every asset has to have a name. It's got to have a unique identifier. So that coffee bean is number 24601 or whatever it is. We need each coffee bean also to have connectivity.
Yes.
So that they can talk to each other.
Nanotechnology codes.
And then we need this to happen automatically. These are the 3 pillars of the new beast system that they're describing here. And as I mentioned, we read down here, we're talking about knowledge about every piece of any physical product, where it came from, what it's made of, and to give a little more color on those 3 parts, on that architecture. Number 1, identity. First off, we need to be able to provide every part and every asset across the supply chain with its own unique identification. As soon as we manufacture any component, as soon as we pick any coffee bean, we will tag it with its unique digital identifier. But it's not that easy. You know, we can't just throw an RFID on everything. Like, think about a fish, for example. And I'll just pause to make sure it's very clear. We're talking about coffee beans and fish. This is food, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about taking total control over food.
And us.
Consider that fish. You're about to buy a fillet of fish, but you want to know, was it sustainably farmed, yada, yada, yada. We're from the government. We're here to help. To provide you for that, we need to be able to track the fish as it changes shape across the supply chain. If you bought the whole fish, well, that'd be kind of easy. Maybe there's just a tag on it. But you bought just a fillet. So now we need to provide each part of that fish with its own unique digital identifier as it changes shape. Really astounding here.
It is.
Additionally, now that we've got every single piece of that fish with its own ID, they've also got to be able to talk to each other. That was the second pillar, connectivity.
Yes.
And what works for your phone may not work for that fish. So That's a different problem we're going to have to solve. Don't worry, they've got that covered too. That's 5G, right?
Yep.
So let's start with how they're going to provide identification for everything. And this is the blockchain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the blockchain of food. And it's something that's been talked about for a long time, years actually, before the pandemic.
Absolutely.
How blockchain technology could transform the food industry. This is from 2017. Well, there's been a lot of noise about Bitcoin. You may have heard about that crazy Bitcoin. But actually, we can use cryptocurrency, the blockchain underneath it, to drastically make a revolution in food safety. Is sort of the narrative. That's how they're selling it here.
Yeah, they're selling it.
And here's a report
right.
from Accenture, one of the big consulting firms. And here's a report from Deloitte in 2016, another of the big consulting firms, just to make it clear that it's been years in the works and there's big money behind this.
Absolutely.
In fact, Walmart has already done a pilot starting in 2016 from Bloomberg. Walmart tackles food safety with a trial of blockchain technology.
Pre-planned.
Walmart actually worked with IBM to launch their Blockchain Food Safety Alliance. And they did so in China. And I'll let them, in their own words, describe what they're building.
What we hope to do with blockchain is bring all food safety system stakeholders and collaborate so that we do it one best way. We can do it very quickly and efficiently. Blockchain is a digital ledger that allows different segments of the food system to capture information about the product, what they've done to it, where that product has been. If we're linking that data with other data points, the Internet of Things, all that information will yield to insights that will allow us to have a safer, more affordable, and sustainable food system. But we don't believe traceability is the goal. We believe that transparency is the ultimate goal. Blockchain will give us the ability to not only track where food came from, but how it was produced. Was it produced safely? Was it produced responsibly? Is it sustainably grown? How many dates of shelf life are left on that product? The food system is a shared responsibility, and for blockchain and traceability and transparency to work, we need a lot of people working together. And so we're excited to be working with IBM on this blockchain initiative.
Yes, so there you have it. Two firms, Walmart with its deep ties to the Defense Department,
Yes.
and IBM, who literally ran the computers at the Nazi death camps, are now working together for the blockchain for your public safety. Doesn't that make you feel good?
Right. I'm going to leave it at that. I think you get where we're going. Okay, and I'll leave his link down there. IceAgefarmer, for a young guy, what an amazing job he's doing. I want to thank you for all your time and efforts. Now do you see? COVID operation to bring in an AI takeover of mankind, the food, folks. Now, again, if I didn't say it, AplaneTruth a couple months ago had a woman on there that said we would be only allowed 8 ounces of food. The other thing you don't know is your social credit score determines what food you can buy and how much. Okay, so I may be, because they don't like me telling the truth and what's going on, I may only get 3 ounces of food a day. What is it going to do? It's going to kill me. I'm going to starve to death. So anyway, I just wanted you to see where we're going, folks. We got to get back to the garden, all right? We need the heart chakra going on. You need to get rid of your devices, cell phones, iPads, especially wireless. Do you see where we are in the game? It's going deep down this damn rabbit hole. And get back to growing your own food, and they're going to stifle it. As a law has just been declared, apparently, that we're not allowed to grow food. Well, I'm going to balk that. But again, they're going to have these draconian ways to try to stop us. Heads up, world. Heads up. Get your shit together. Trump, Jared, they're not here to save you. Okay? They're bringing in the AI lockdown of mankind. All right, guys. Have a good one. I will talk to you soon. I really hope you get to see the video. BitChute, I'm just simply relaying information from somebody else. That's all I did. All right. See you later, guys. Take care. Listen to the heart tape. I'm telling you, that is a key to the answer. Get connected to the heart chakra. Listen to that tape for 30 days, at least. It will transform you, and it will connect you to your heart, because we'd better get there real quick, because this AI machine is taking us over. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.